A local theater strives to create a positive contribution to the quality of life through the arts by bringing superior professional performances to the stage in our community on a year-round basis. Their story is coming up on Polk Place. Welcome to Polk Place. I'm your host, Lauren Lingell. With me in studio, we have Scott Cook. He is the artistic producer of TheatreWorks Florida, but I really think that he's much more than that.
Thank you, Lauren. It's very nice to be here this morning.
Thank you for being here. So to get us started, let's talk a little bit. You're no stranger. Theater's not new to you. This has like been a lifelong field that you've been in.
That is correct.
Tell me how you got into it and kind of like the short version of how you got to where you are now.
Okay, this dates, me personally dates all the way back to 8 years old. I'll tell it as quickly as I can. I grew up on a farm, on a mountain in a log cabin. And my family was not prone to theater or sort of arts and culture, although it's not that it was unfamiliar. And when I was 8 years old, I was singing at my cousin's confirmation party, and a woman who did stage cabaret shows all over New York happened to be there, and she turned to my mother and said, "That boy belongs on stage." And that's really how I got started. In a log cabin, no less.
How wonderful.
Is that crazy?
I would love to have a moment in my life where somebody was like, yes, you're meant for fame.
Right. So I toured a year all over New York State with this wonderful, wonderful woman. We did things from her cabaret shows in the Catskills all the way down to she had had an accident, and the Shriners saved her life. And so she gave back to them once a month, and we'd go do either the Shriners or nursing homes and sing for the older folks. It was just a fascinating childhood. At the same time, in Utica, New York, which is upstate, there was a touring company called Rhythm Light Touring Productions that I saw because Carol Brown, who was this woman I was touring with, was associated with them. They were singer-dancer actors that did a beautiful Broadway review. And I wanted this at like 8, 9 years old.
Right.
Well, unbeknownst to me, the head of the whole program had come to see one of our little shows we were doing, and afterwards they walked up and said, "We'd like to officially welcome you to the company. Would you like to join?" And of course I lost my mind and said yes, and that changed my entire life. The company is associated with, well, what was Up With People. I'm not sure if Up With People is still around. The Rockettes in New York. They had a huge affiliation with the Rockettes. And the company was for younger people from my age, around 8 or 9, all the way up to 18, and they would tour all over the United States. So I did anywhere between 180 to 200 shows a year as a child.
I know people are going to wonder, when did you go to school?
When did I? There was a point in time where we were tutored, and that didn't seem to work out.
No.
So most of our shows were in the summertime, that when we would go off and tour. We've done things like Hershey Park. We've done Singing for the President of the United States, the show for the President. We did the 1982 Knoxville World's Fair, which was amazing. We were actually there with the affiliate company Up With People. So I've just had a fascinating childhood. I actually graduated number 9 in my class. I had that capacity in my life too, to like school and do well in school. And I just studied a lot and stayed up a lot and didn't sleep as a child.
And it doesn't seem to have stunted your growth at all.
Well, thank you, thank you. Interestingly enough too, we also were required to go to classes. So not only were we in rehearsals and off doing shows, we had to go to 6 classes a week. Ooh. And 2 had to be dance, 1 was vocal, and then you could choose the other 3, whatever you wanted to do. So we were always busy, always running, but I grew up fascinated with musical theater, and who really knows where it came from, because it wasn't embedded in my family. But I knew at a young age that this was what I would do the rest of my life. I mean, sometimes it takes you till you're 18 to go, I think I'm going to be this.
Right.
And I knew. I used to, I can't believe I'm saying this on film. I literally used to have my little music in my room and close my door with my little hat or my little cane and create dance moves and choreography and literally think I was on the Broadway stage, all in my own fantasy world.
That's incredible.
In a log cabin.
So in a
in a log
don't forget
cabin.
that. It's like Abraham Lincoln style.
Right.
So you took that love and that passion, and as an adult, you've been able to do it for real. With people.
Right. I was actually from, when I turned 18, I had a lot of choices to make. I could have gone off to some great schools to be a doctor or lawyer, which was sort of what my family was hoping I was going to do at 18, sort of dismissed. But I look back and I'm like, I cannot dismiss the last 10 years of my life. You've helped feed this. So this is what I'm going to do.
This is your fault.
This is me, right, this is your fault. So I was fortunate enough right at 18, right out of school, I was in one of the first regional runs of a chorus line after it had been released from Broadway. I went on to work with the talent company in Syracuse, which is where I did this. This was my first choreographer experience. I got to choreograph the Rocky Horror Show.
Oh, wow.
Which strangely enough, all these secrets are coming out on film. I had snuck out of my house to see the year before in Syracuse, New York, where I actually 1 year later ended up being the choreographer for the show. Is that crazy?
That is crazy.
It was like I lead this bizarre life that I just like, okay, let's go.
You know, I think there are plenty of people that would just die to be in your shoes.
These adventures, I call them, that I've been on, sort of have presented themselves to me in my life, and I just go. I just go because I love what I do. I love it's always different, it's always crazy. Yeah. But from there, strangely enough, at 19, 20 years old, I felt I needed a break because I was really tired.
Well, you've been working.
And I came to Florida. And I was in DeLeon Springs, which is a little north from here, from us. And I got there and I swore I was not going to talk about theater to anybody. 2 weeks later, I went to get my hair cut. And the woman who was cutting my hair started talking about theater. The Shoestring Theater in DeLand, which is still there, a community theater. And she started saying how they had lost their choreographer. And I could feel it coming. And I'm like, please, God, don't open your mouth. And it did. It came spilling out. Well, I choreographed, and I just came from the Rocky Horror Show in New York. And blah. Long story short there, I ended up working with them. I choreographed Oklahoma for them. And afterwards, I asked them, if you ever do Godspell, which is one of my favorite musicals ever, can I please just choreograph it? And the board came back to me and said, instead of just doing that, we're going to give you 4 shows. We want you to start a young adults company. We want you to run it in rep over the summer. 4 shows in 3 months. Do you want to do that? I'm like, sure. We want you to direct and choreograph. Okay, great. And I went home and had a heart attack. I had never directed in my life. I didn't even know what it meant. And that was how I got started in creating theater up until today. So that was my beginnings in Florida. I stayed with them a while. I'm very proud of the very first show I ever directed and choreographed. Got to go to Southeastern Theater Conference. It was chosen out of the pot. And that company is still there today. I'm not sure if the young company, because we called it On Stage 2, was the young theater, the Young People's Theater. So I'm not sure if that's still there, but I know that the theater is still there, and it's very near and dear to my heart, even though I don't get up there to see them very often. From there, I went on to create my very first company called High Energy Entertainment, and that was based on the company I grew up with in New York. And we ran all over Central Florida for 2 years.
Oh my gosh, I'm just exhausted.
Right? I'm talking already too tired.
But I'm excited for it, because after you went through all of these things, it led you to this really wonderful TheatreWorks Florida.
Where we are now.
Where we are now. And so you've been traveling, your company's been traveling.
Yeah, TheatreWorks Florida, and I got to give you a little bit that actually ties into Polk County.
Oh, help me.
Past all of that original company, I went on to do 10 years as an entertainer at Walt Disney World. At the same time, I met a wonderful woman named Wendy Bailey, who worked at the Hoop-de-Doo Review with me at Walt Disney World, and she got wind of some of the things that I was doing, and she said, you really need to meet Norman Small at Theater Winter Haven. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what you mean. She's like, you need to come over and direct for Winter Haven. Because she was, I believe Wendy was directing the children's program at the time, or one of the shows. So I was given the opportunity to finally meet the Norman Small, and if anybody in Polk County knows arts and culture, they certainly probably know Norman Small. My very first interview with that incredible, incredible man was in a very tiny office, and I was scared to death. And he said at the end of my interview, he's like, okay, all of that aside, all of these technical details aside, why should I hire you? And out of my mouth came, because I'm really, really good at what I do, and you probably would like to have me on board. He kind of cocked his head and he went, okay, you're hired. And that's how I started with Theater Winter Haven. So I did 13 years with them. I got to do a lot of the big musicals. My big heyday, my big swan song for them was 2006 when I did Cats. We were really fortunate. We were the third community theater in the country to actually produce the show. And it took 11 months of my life. And from there, I was really tired.
It's break time again.
It was break time. Oh God, it was break time. And I basically took a year off. But in that year, I went to visit the Polk Theater in Lakeland. I just went for a tour. I'd never been in the building, strangely enough. And by the time we were done through the little tour, the executive director at the time and I started to talk about creating a company that could be an in-house musical theater company for them and help them to cut costs, because bringing in shows just for a couple of nights is incredibly expensive from off-Broadway library or wherever they're coming from. And so we thought we had the resources in Central Florida to pull together a company. The seed for TheatreWorks Florida was born then. From there, I went and visited my dear friend and designer partner, James F. Beck, who is the chair of the theater and dance department for Florida Southern College. And I said, oh my gosh, I think we're going to create a company. And he just turned and looked at me and he said, jump off the cliff, we'll figure it out later. Everybody's been waiting. And I'm like, and that's how TheatreWorks Florida got born.
That is incredible. Like, I'm almost speechless.
Yeah, right? It's like crazy how it all got there. Because I've never set out, I never even thought of having a company. It never crossed my mind one single time. In all of the crazy things that I had done, in all of the great shows I did, I mean, I was creating. You know, people ask me all the time at interviews, why do you create theater? Why do you teach theater? And my response is, I don't teach theater, I teach life. That's really what I do when I get with a group of people, is it's not just about the piece. We're telling stories which then relate to life, which is what theater and anybody telling stories, you know, film, graphics, whatever your medium is, it's always about stories, you know. So
when TheatreWorks Florida was born, it was, am I understanding correctly, it was a traveling company?
Well, it didn't intend to be a traveling company. We opened with Disney High School Musical at the Polk Theater, and for a brand new company that really wasn't known, although all of us in the pot were known. We did like 400, 450 a night for 6 shows for a company that had never existed. But I knew Disney High School Musical was also my brainchild, because at the time in 2008 it was the hottest thing in town. You know, everybody loved that on Disney Channel, and all the kids were losing their mind. And yeah, so it was a great opening. Didn't pan out at the Polk Theater, and we decided right after that that we were going to give back to the Polk County community and run a show called Plaid Tidings, which is the Christmas version of the very famous Forever Plaid musical, and give it back to nursing homes.
Nice.
For free. And that's exactly what we did. We went out, and I think we did 8, 9 maybe shows all over Polk County. And the response, of course, was phenomenal, because we dropped not just a couple singers and some mics. We dropped the entire show, set, the whole 9 yards, into these nursing homes. And that's how the touring process got started. We didn't intend to be touring, but that's what we ended up doing. And from there, we met a lot of different clients. Our biggest client for the last 8 years has been Garden Theater. I shouldn't say client, I should say producing partner. And we ended up doing their opening musical for years. I believe we toured to Bartow, had a performing arts. I'm not sure if it's still here or not. their performing arts series.
I believe so.
And also Theater Winter Haven. We toured a couple shows into there. I know we did the Plaid Tidings show there. We also, at the time in 2010, which I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit, we did a show called The Great American Trailer Park Musical, which is actually coming up in our season.
Oh.
It is the bad boy rock and roll Florida musical, and if you haven't seen it, which at the time nobody had, it had never been done in Florida. It had just come off Broadway, and I wanted to do it so bad because it's about these crazy characters in a Florida trailer park in North Florida, right up near the prison. We went to the Orlando International Fringe Festival. I just wanted to go because that's where we thought it would do best. We walked away with 13 awards, including Best in Fest, out of several hundred companies that were there presenting shows.
Fantastic.
It was amazing.
I really want to keep talking about these wonderful, awesome
Sure,
things,
no.
but we're running out of time. So
Okay.
I want to make sure that we talk about some really cool things,
Yeah.
and that is, you guys have a home now.
We have a home, right? In Davenport, Florida, right in the downtown of Davenport, Florida.
Oh my goodness, I would have to have you point that out on a map. I know I've been to Davenport, but I've never actually known that I was in Davenport. But I have a reason now to pay attention to
Right?
Davenport.
You got to come over and visit.
Exactly.
Once you get there, you've only got 3 blocks to find us. I'm kidding. You want me to tell you a little bit about that?
Yes, do.
Okay. In 2014, and I'll try to give you the quick version. We were very fortunate that I was on my way to the Florida Southern College Theater Banquet, and I got a telephone call at 5 o'clock on a Friday. It was the National Endowment for the Arts offering us a grant. They're the largest arts giving organization in the country. And I thought somebody was punking me, so I didn't call back. I listened to it again the following morning. I'm like, I think this might be serious. So I started to formulate all these ideas like, you want to offer us a grant, and I'm not really sure what this is about. We've never written a grant. And lo and behold, it was true. They had a program called Arts Engagement in American Communities. They were looking for geographic holes all over the United States. And they were looking for a company that could create something to fill that hole. We got the grant. Long story short, we wrote it and we got the grant. Now we needed a place to produce on our own because all these other touring places were helping us out with rehearsal spaces. We were temporary space over Florida Southern College, but then school would start and we'd get kicked out. So I went to the city, who in turn turned me over to the Polk County School Board, who had this old School of the Arts 1 block away from where I lived that had been shut down for years.
Oh, boy.
And I went and talked to the woman who was sort of running there's a Fresh Start program in the building as well. It's for people to go back and get their GED. So I went and talked to her, and she's like, just go over and tour that. And I'd already been in there years ago. Just go over and look at it. I went over with the janitor, and he flipped the lights on in the dance studio, and my heart went racing. It was absolutely gorgeous. Hardwood floors.
You heard the angels, didn't you?
I did. Fully mirrored. A theater in the building, and I'm like, this is going to be something. That was 2014. In that year, we created, for the grant, we created a program called Theater Cares, which was it's a community outreach offspring of TheatreWorks Florida that is set up strictly to give people who will never have or may never have the opportunity to experience theater, theatrical opportunities and experiences for absolutely free. Our first run was the Winter Wonderettes, which we're doing again this year, for nursing homes and assisted living facilities.
That's so great.
But we were only looking at the building at the time for rehearsal space and storage. And I kept thinking, I'm not sure if the Davenport area is ready, so I'm not sure if we're going to set down an arts and culture program. It took us 3 years to actually become part of get in with the city and talk to some of our city officials, get around and know the business world, to get a feel for what was happening in that area. And finally, 3 years later, that's what we've decided to do because we've been in the building. And I do need to say and thank so dearly John Small and Rhonda Kelly, who are both involved with that building. John Small was the superintendent at the time, and the Polk County School Board, because they donate that space to TheatreWorks Florida. Now, we are a 501c3, but this has been a donation. That is a godsend. Theater companies look for spaces for years and can't find them. I've got a studio, a theater, a storage space, and a shop all at my disposal, 1 block away from where I live.
Yeah,
Pretty
somebody
incredible.
likes you.
Somebody likes me. It's pretty incredible.
So tell me what this is your inaugural season.
For Davenport, yeah, again, we've been around 10 years. Won awards all over the place, have done some incredible tours with Theater Cares. But for Davenport, and I would even say for all of Polk County, this is our inaugural season, setting down in a home space at actual theater we're going to call home.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's very exciting. One thing to mention too, we are a professional company, which is very different for the area. I believe we're the only professional company in Polk County. There's community theaters, and they're absolutely wonderful. You have Theater Winter Haven, where I grew up.
Right.
13 years. Lakeland Community Players, back in the day, I did a couple shows for them. But the difference with us is we pay everybody. And what that allows us to do is to really go out and grab professional designers from all over the place, bring in professional actors from like Disney and Universal and the whole Orlando area. We've got a very strong following over 10 years. And we also want to invite all of Polk County to come play too, because we've spent so much time over in Orange County. It's not a scare, it might be a challenge, is to say, hey, we're over here now. We are going to stay home. We are going to give back to Davenport. We are going to give back to Polk County. That's important to us. And so we've spent a lot of time since January meeting the business world, meeting city officials, meeting our residents, getting out and talking to people.
So what are we going to expect out of this home base year?
Our first year, we're going to run 3 shows as our season. Okay. Sort of testing the waters, making sure people want to come, can come experience it. We have 3 shows that we're doing. The first is called The Marvelous Wonderettes. It's an off-Broadway hit musical that, strangely enough, is still playing on off-Broadway. So we're very fortunate to be able to get the rights to it. It's a 4-girl show. It's all 50s, 60s music. Act 1, you get to meet these lovely little crazy girls at their prom. And then in Act 2, you get to come back 10 years later to their 10-year reunion and find out that as adults, a lot of crazy adult things have happened to them, and it's all 60s music. Our second show is called Winter Wonderettes, and that's going to play in a Christmas season. It is now this little singing group kind of gets their oomph up and decides, oh, we are a singing group, and they get hired to come and perform at Harper's Hardware Holiday Happening. And the whole audience are the employees of Harper Hardware. You go to the Christmas party only to find out that Mr. Harper, owner of the hardware store, is missing, and he's supposed to be Santa. So now the girls have to cover, and it's all very audience, it's very warm. Both of these shows are very family friendly. And so we're really hoping that we get the younger generation to come and experience live theater too. Third show is going back to this, the Great American Trailer Park Musical.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's PG-13, a little strong language, adult situations. It is one of the funniest things, especially if you live in Florida. I have never seen people react to a piece in my life like when we first previewed it. We had a preview night at Fringe Festival, and people were losing their mind over and I'm like, is it really that funny? I mean, and I love it. Is it really that good? It really is that good. Well, we've been begged to bring it back for 8 years, and we finally are ready to do it.
All right.
So those are the
I'm
3
looking
shows.
forward to seeing that one for sure.
Yeah. Another thing I should mention too, I know we're running out of time.
Yes.
Theater Cares has, for the season, we have created a thing called Arts Access Pass. And what that is, in a nutshell, is I have always believed in accessibility to the theater regardless of your ability to pay. And we have created a program where our residents right now, we intend to expand it to Polk County, but right now we're fronting all of the money for it. In Davenport and in Haines City, if you can't really afford to come to the theater, you can go to our website and you can apply. And we are accepting people like with an EBT card or Medicaid or military veterans. And if we accept your application, we're going to take on 10 this year. You will get 2 free tickets to every single thing we do.
That's so great.
Isn't that cool? It's based off of a huge accessibility program in Knoxville, Tennessee. I called this woman and said, you got it going on. And she, after talking with her, cold call on the phone, she's like, just take our program and mimic it. She goes, you won't believe the response. So we're really excited to be able to offer that to our community as well.
That's wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. Hands down. Couldn't be happier for you.
Thank you so much.
Seems like things are really just kind of settling.
Yeah, we're just so excited to be here. It's kind of like we've been home, we've been here for 10 years, but we're kind of coming home for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, you know, to be able to offer this to Polk County, to Davenport, right?
Yeah.
What goes on in Davenport?
We will see.
We were going to see, right?
All right, we are out of time.
Okay.
Because I would totally keep talking to you forever.
We could talk all day.
One last thought. Do you have any, want to leave the viewers with one last thought?
I do. I would love people to come and experience the world of TheatreWorks Florida, because it's not just theater, it's a family, and it has been ever since we've started. My philosophy in the beginning when we started this was, we are not here to just build theater and build entertainment. We are here to build lives. We are here to tell stories. We are here to create a community. And we've done exactly that. And now we want new family members to come and have a great time with us.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I have a friend, and I often ask her, you know, why do you do what you do? And she says to me, because I can't do anything else.
Can't do anything else.
And I think this is very true for you.
It
At
is
8 years
very
old,
true for me.
That's why. So thank you so much.
You are
for
so
being
welcome.
here.
Thank you again for having me. This is awesome.
It's been wonderful. TheatreWorks Florida is thrilled and proud to announce the inaugural 3-show season at their new theater venue, Davenport Community Campus. TheatreWorks Florida's theater is located at 8 West Palmetto Street in Davenport. TheatreWorks Florida will be presenting the marvelous Wonderettes, Wonderettes, and the Great American Trailer Park Musical throughout March of 2018. The 3-show season subscription for an adult is $61, student is $51, and the single show for adults is $24, and for students $19. And group sales are available. For times, dates, shows, and more information, you can give them a call at 407-340-0473 or look them up on the web at theatreworksfl.org.